So, here's the question. How good is triangle strategy? A. Very good. B. Okay. C. Pretty bad. Or D. Let's have a look.
Well, obviously it's answer D. Let's have a look. Log that in.
That is the right answer. Congratulations. You win 1,000,000 scale coins.
Hello and welcome, my three-pronged leaves. So, here we are. After the unboxing, the review follows. And wow, that will be a ride. I will hope you enjoy it as well as I do, so let's get right into it. First off, the graphics, which are really nice looking. They really nail the modern version of pixel-styled games with this. Sure, here and there are some small, barely noticeable visual errors, like some pixels start vibrating, but nothing really distracting. The characters look great and very distinctive, and the animations you get are also superb, be that in battles or cutscenes. I would call it a visual masterpiece when it comes to this kind of art style, and it will be hard to beat. Then we have the music, of course, made by Akira Senju, who also made the music for a little known show called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And it is beautiful. Every track hits in the right way for the situation and makes it even more emotional. Just like with the art, it is a superb choice and maybe one of the best video game tracks out there. Now, let's get to the important thing. The story and the mechanic of splitting paths. The overall story is basically your middle-aged war epos. That said though, you really start to feel for the characters and really want to know how the story continues. At the same time though, while you win all your battles, you kind of feel like you are losing despite that, which might sound bad, but really works in its favor because it makes everything far more suspenseful. And then we have the choices where the timeline splits. Sure, after each of these splits, you play your chosen scenario and then it gets back to the main path, so it won't change the overall story. However, this is a good thing, because with that you can have different paths with different outcomes that don't turn the overall story into a lukewarm mess. You have to think about it like this. If they would have tried to have every chosen path lead to a completely different story, it would be like an author writing 20 books with the same premise at once. Nothing good can really come out of it, and making a game where this would happen in a very good and satisfying way would probably take like 50 years. But, that said, the outcomes of your choices aren't really that predictable. To keep this spoiler free, I'm not going into details here, but let's just say thinking the obviously good route can turn out to be the worst choice ever. Most of the time, all the choices, which are either 2 or 3, will lead you to have to sacrifice something you would have found on the other route. So there really is no right or wrong here, which is just awesome. And the way you choose your paths is really interesting, as you don't just pick the path. No, you are asking the scale of judgment, and with that, ultimately your most trusted friends. The way it works is like this. In the first phase, you can explore a bit, talk to people in the city, stuff like that. Doing that, you will get some information you didn't have before, that might change how you think and can be used to convince one of your adversaries to the path you want to go. After finishing that exploration, you go talk to your 7 cohorts. Now, each of them has his or her own opinion on what's the best course of action. Normally divided by 3 by 3 or 2 by 2 and 1 indecisive. You, of course, can just go to the scale and let them decide and surprise yourself with the outcome. Or you can try to persuade them of a specific path. The information you gathered before unlocks new choices you can use to persuade. However, even those don't guarantee a change of their opinion, so the outcome will never be completely clear, which is a lot of fun. Depending on the chosen path, you even get different characters joining your roster, Some items might be different as well, and of course, a different story. This makes the New Game Plus even more interesting, where you keep all the unlocked characters, basically turning this into a gotta catch 'em all. But the choices you pick from dialogue boxes aren't the only choices you make. There's one mission, for example, where you are supposed to use traps to defeat the enemy. However, you can also opt not to do that, and people, after the battle, will react to that accordingly. All these things also accumulate into a thing called convictions, which there are 3 of: morality, liberty, and utility. You never really know which choice affects which conviction, even though sometimes you can really guess it. But it's not only choices that have an effect. Let's elaborate. First off, you don't go with one conviction. You always have all 3. It is not choosing a side, it is more like how deep you do believe in each of the 3. Meaning, you can basically max out all 3 and get all benefits. So, like I said, choosing options when people ask you something relate to these convictions, deepening them. But that is not everything. Sometimes just talking to someone without even any choice, one of your convictions will deepen. You don't see which one, nor can you see how deep those are. They are completely hidden values, which adds a lot to the suspense of the game and gives you incentives of what you think might be the best choice of option here, instead of aiming for some specific conviction. I even got my conviction deepened by talking to a cat. And talking isn't everything either. It can happen when you buy something, and I guess it depends on what you buy, be it healing items, materials, or equipment. Even in battle, it can happen, depending on how you act there. Going straight for high-hitting attacks? Maybe use debuffs or poison stuff? Or you could also get stuff like barricades out of the way before you start your attack. Everything has an effect, and that is nice. And like I said, keeping those values hidden adds to the game by taking something away. You really feel like it is your own choice, not a calculated one in regards to game mechanics. What also adds to that is that there is really no right or wrong choice. Everything can be positive or negative depending on the viewpoint. That really is extremely enjoyable. Okay, the last point are the battles. And boy, those are fun. Each unit you unlock really feels different. Well, sure, the Fire Mage and the Ice Mage are kind of the same, just with a different element. But even then, they do have differences. You have units that can stealth around the battlefield, others can push enemies away and even down edges for more damage. And one of my favorites can place traps on the battlefield, in which you can lure your contrahands. Of course, you have some basic strategy game stuff like archers with a lot of reach and lancers that can attack over 2 fields, but they also have some that are more exotic, like changing the weather or give your allies FP so they can use special attacks. Elements, of which there are 4, fire, ice, wind and thunder, can also affect the battlefield. You can burn grass or wooden stuff, and whenever someone walks through those flames, they get damage. Or freeze a field, make walking over it difficult, slowing units down. Wind can be used to turn enemies around or increase the amount of fields that are ablaze. And finally, with thunder, using that on puddles or water affects everyone standing on a field that is linked by said water to the one you attacked, which can lead to a huge attack. This is also where weather comes into play. Making it rain douses all the flames, for example. And stuff like wooden barricades can also be easily destroyed by fire and then leave a burning field. There are a lot of strategies you can use, none really wrong or right, just different, and that is highly enjoyable. So, this is Triangle Strategy, and there's really nothing much negative you could say about this. If you're a fan of strategic RPGs, this is a must-have for you. And if you're a beginner wanting to get into the genre, might be a bit on the hard side, but you can always put the difficulty on easy as well. So try it out. Might work for you. This game is definitely a recommendation, and it will be one of the greatest strategic RPGs of all time. I bet. Tell me what your thoughts about it are in the comments below. Also, move to the field between the like and subscribe button as well as that little bell and attack them all three at the same time. And while you're at it, check out the links in the description to my Twitter and Instagram, where I post stuff and keep you updated whenever I stream or upload a new video. As well as to my Twitch, where I stream every Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. I hope to see you there, and until next time, bye-bye!